GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers. Navigating the insidious illness of Alzheimer's is something nobody asks for. The disease sneaks up on you and your loved one, and it feels like you've been sucker punched in the gut. Then you ask, where do we turn for help? Who do we call? What do we do? These questions and more are what we hope to answer and give you some direction and hope. Now let's join our host, Jeff Edwards.
Greetings and welcome. This is GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, episode 51, or Stem Cells and Lots of Caregiving Information. How's everybody doing this week? Good, I hope. Taking good care of yourself? Going to caregiver group meetings? Making lists? Why, you ask? We wanted to see if you pay attention to the rules we follow here at GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers. And that reminds me of an old song from the early 1970s by the five-man electrical band. Signs, signs, everywhere signs. Okay, let's check out the rules. Now, if you're a regular listener, you probably know them by heart. If you're new, they're easy to learn, but very, very good. Number one, you have to take care of yourself, because if something happens to you, who is going to take care of your loved one? And number two, you can't do it alone. You need help. Find good caregiver groups or network with friends and relatives. Number three, make a list of people, friends, relatives, coworkers who have offered to help you in time of need, and then make a list of things you need done but can't do yourself because caregiving duties are overwhelming. Use the lists. Start at the top. Keep going till you get what you need done, and you'll find it very helpful. And we are working on number 4. It's not quite there yet, but we'll get there. Today, we're going to hear about stem cell treatment that improves Alzheimer's symptoms. It's very current. And you'll hear our interview with Morgan Van Dyke from Assisting Hands and learn about many, many caregiving tips that will help you in the early stages of Alzheimer's. Now, you might want to grab a pen and paper so you can jot them down. Let's get at it. Here's an article written by Lindsay Allison in Newsmax, Friday, March 28, 2025. Stem cell treatment improves Alzheimer's symptoms. A new study found that a novel treatment using stem cells improves symptoms in Alzheimer's patients. Unlike traditional treatments that target amyloid plaques, laromestrocel, or Lomecel-B, harnesses mesenchymal stem cells, MSCs, donated from fresh bone marrow to reduce inflammation and promote brain repair. The study, published in Nature Medicine, found that the treatment was effective in slowing cognitive decline and reducing brain volume loss in patients with mild to severe Alzheimer's. The 36 study participants in the trial who received stem cell infusions demonstrated cognitive improvements, brain structure preservation, and a better quality of life compared to the 12 patients who received placebo infusions. The patients receiving laromestrocel experienced a 20 to 30% reduction in left and right brain ventricular enlargement, an encouraging sign of the drug's disease-modifying potential, according to researchers. In addition, the infusions were well tolerated by the study participants. This Nature Medicine publication reinforces laromestracel's safety and efficacy as potential treatment for mild Alzheimer's disease and paves the way for more advances in utilizing cell therapy. This Nature Medicine publication reinforces laromestracel's safety and efficacy as a potential treatment for mild Alzheimer's disease and paves the way for more advances in utilizing cell therapy. Dr. Joshua Hare, the founder and chief science officer of Longeveron, the maker of laromestrocel, said in a statement, "It's the first cell therapy to receive Regenerative Medicine Advanced Therapy designation for Alzheimer's, along with fast-track status for expedited review."
We'll be right back to GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
In the fight against Alzheimer's, now matters more than ever. Because now we have treatments that could change everything. But now is no time to stop. Now we've got momentum, so now we use it. Now we seize the moment. Now we turn the tide. Now we make a difference and make some noise. Now is the time to get up, get out, and join the movement. At the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's, held in over 600 communities nationwide, and we need you with us. Because now is the time for hope. Join the fight at alz.org/walk.
This is GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
A few months back, I received an email from somebody that said, "Hello, I just heard about this podcast from a friend with the Reunite program here in Fort Myers. This is fantastic, and I wondered if you were looking for guests for your podcast." Well, we are always looking for interesting guests in our podcast, GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers. And I'm very pleased to say that we will be talking to Morgan Van Dyke today in this episode. It was really a very good interview. I think you'll like it. Morgan is an RN and marketing liaison for Assisting Hands Home Care. They provide home care to many locals struggling with the dementia diagnosis. Morgan says that dementia care has been a passion of hers since she first started in healthcare as a CNA at the age of 18 years old. She also worked with orthopedics, neurology, cardiology, oncology, and infectious disease. She's excited to be working with Assisting Hands where she can help others find the support they need to care for their loved ones and keep them at home. Hi, Morgan. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I know a few weeks ago you were pretty sick. I hope you've recovered fully, have you?
I have. I'm feeling great. Back on top of the world.
Good thing. We had decided we would talk about the caregiver's role in the beginning stages and how to support and help plan, take advantage of local support groups, look into available treatments and clinical trial. And one of the biggest challenges is know how much help to give and when to give it. Now, I know the early stages are a lot easier than later stages. So what would you suggest to a person whose loved one has just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or another dementia? Now, this is something new for both of them. What do they do? Where do they get help? Is there a step-by-step approach to these important things?
Well, I would say the first thing you want to take care of is the paperwork part. You want to make sure that you have at minimum a financial and a medical power of attorney. That's much easier to get when the person with dementia is still, relatively cognitively aware, able to make some decisions. If you wait too long and they're not able to sign their own paperwork, it gets a lot more complicated and you have to get lawyers involved. So ideally, you want to get that stuff done right away. You also want to look at setting up some advanced directives that's going to give some direction for that power of attorney in order to make decisions on that person's behalf in the way that they would want them made. You also want to talk about whether or not they want to stay a full code or maybe visit the idea of becoming a DNR or a do not resuscitate. Basically what that means is, if you came to a point where you needed CPR, would you want all of those life-saving measures? Would you want to be intubated and put on a ventilator? And for a lot of elderly people, they decide they don't want all those interventions. And that's a decision that you can make between the two of you. But that's something you should still discuss while they're lucid enough to really be able to share their input and how they feel about it. You also want to talk to them about how they see their future. So is their ideal situation to age in place at home? Is moving in with family an option? Would they look at assisted living? What is their kind of ideal situation as they start to age? And with that, you also want to talk about the family's limitations, both physically and financially. If the person with the diagnosis is thinking, well, my daughter will be here to help me and I can move in with her, but the daughter works full time or maybe has small children she's caring for, that might not be a practical solution. So we want to make sure that our plan is going to work for everybody that's going to be involved. And of course, after that initial conversation, you're going to need to have a lot more in regards to assisted living, home care, clinical trials, support groups, and things of that nature. But that's really a good place to start, is making sure that you have all of that paperwork in order and have a good idea of how they want their care to be handled as you move forward. That
makes sense. It's kind of like if you set up an outline or a guide to follow, that would be excellent for somebody, because Absolutely. You're going to forget things as time goes on. Trust me. should the caregiver get involved in a caregiver support group? Now, I know the answer to this question, but...
Absolutely. Most caregivers, they start off okay. They have these initial discussions. The symptoms are mostly manageable. But as things progress, a lot of caregivers find themselves really overwhelmed. And having a support group to connect with people who are dealing with similar situations is really important. I've got to shout out to the Dubin Center here in Fort Myers because they have some really amazing support groups. And they offer activities for the person with the diagnosis to enjoy so that the caregiver can attend the groups, know that their loved one is being taken care of, and really focus on connecting with their peers. And a lot of local memory care communities offer those support groups as well.
Right. And I know that because I just came back from my men's caregivers meeting at the Dubin Center.
Wonderful.
I still go after all these years. And a lot of the people do. Even if they've lost their loved one, they still need the support and camaraderie and the information. It's one of our rules. So
absolutely.
How does one know how and when to provide the right support? Because everybody's a little different with what they need. You can't just say you have to do this, and this, but how do you address that?
I think the idea here is that we always want to try and help do and not do for them. So when you have a task, you want to think about safety first. Take a look at whatever the task is and ask yourself, is there a safety risk if they perform this alone? And if there's not, go ahead and let them try. We always want to encourage them to do what they can and just kind of jump in where they really need it. We also want to avoid things that are really stressful. And when I say avoid stress, what I mean is you want to avoid stressing out the person with the diagnosis. So for example, going to the grocery store, that can be very loud, very overwhelming for a lot of people. So if that's a little bit too much for them, maybe the caregiver does the grocery shopping, but you can have them help you write the grocery list or plan the meals for the week. And so that they still kind of feel like a part of the process, but it takes that added stress from actually having to go out into the community and deal with the loud noises and the crowded, aisles and things like that. We always want to make a positive assumption. So let's assume that they are able to complete the task instead of just jumping in and saying, "Oh, I've got this." Try to let them do it on their own, but create some kind of help signal. So we want to identify like a cue or a phrase that your loved one can say to identify that they're comfortable receiving help. Okay, they've tried, now they're getting frustrated and they're comfortable with you coming in and kind of helping. That way you're not stepping on their toes. They don't feel like you're, trying to take control of everything, but you know that when this happens, that's your time, that's your cue to kind of step in and help them out. And when you are talking things over, be direct with them, ask them what they need, talk about it, and try to make a plan together. Find activities that you can do together and always keep the conversation going about the expectations and how you'll provide support. In these beginning stages, that communication between the caregiver and the person with the diagnosis is going to be really important so that everybody is, doing as much as they can on their own, but not getting their toes stepped on or feeling like, it can be so frustrating as we get older, whether you have dementia or other challenges that come with aging. Just that loss of independence can be so frustrating for people. So we don't want to just strip that away from them. We want to encourage them to be as independent as they can until they get to the point that they need more assistance.
Right. And I like the idea that the help signal, a phrase to confirm the loved one is comfortable with receiving help or not. I hadn't thought about that before. And as you said, they feel like they're losing their independence if you keep controlling them. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, when you've been doing it on your own for, 80 some years and somebody comes in and starts trying to tell you what to do and how to do it, that can be super frustrating. So we want to try not to be too controlling, especially in the beginning stages, and still let them have as much freedom as they can.
Right. And you don't have to have an illness to have somebody tell you what to do and make you frustrated.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. At what point does a caregiver ask for professional help, take over the things that they can't do themselves? Their loved one is at a certain stage. How do you determine that it's time?
As far as when anyone should bring in extra assistance, I would say we want to look for signs that your loved one needs more assistance with their activities of daily living. Things like dressing, showering, eating. So if you notice signs that, they're losing a lot of weight or gaining a lot of weight, or they have a lot of unexplained bruises or signs of injury, maybe they've been falling. If you notice a body odor, they're just unkempt, wearing the same clothes repeatedly, or their house is not being kept up as neatly as they normally would. Those are kind of signs that they're starting to struggle with some of those tasks. Now, as a caregiver, you might have noticed these things and already stepped in to offer some help with that. But in order to know when it's time for outside help, I would say for the most part, when you start to feel overwhelmed, and that's going to come at a different time for everybody. But if you start to feel like you aren't really having time to focus on yourself, when you're caring for a loved one, your whole life really starts to revolve around the person you're caring for. And statistics have actually shown that it's really common for the caregiver to end up passing before the person they're caring for. So we always want to really make sure that we're taking that time to take care of ourselves. Can't take care of your loved one to the best of your ability if you're not taking care of yourself. So getting even someone just to come in for a few hours a week or to help with the tougher jobs. Showering is a lot of times the first phone call we get. A lot of times someone with dementia, it's very difficult to get them to shower regularly. So, we come in for a few hours a week. That can take that big weight off your shoulders. And then you're able to spend your time with your loved one doing things that you enjoy and not being frustrated and feeling like you're constantly fighting or arguing to get them to do just these normal things that you have to do on a daily basis. But whenever you get to that point that you're just feeling a little overwhelmed, I would say that's the time to get somebody in. You don't have to start with loads of hours, you just start with a few hours a week so that you can take some time for yourself to go out and do something you enjoy.
Very good. Tell us about Assisting Hands. That's where you work.
Yes.
I had not heard about them at this point, so why don't you tell us about it?
Absolutely. We are a private duty home care company. So we provide assistance with those activities of daily living, things like bathing, grooming, dressing, eating, toileting, just ambulating safely in your home, whatever that might be, whether it's an actual house or you're already inside one of these senior communities, we can come into those communities and help as well. We also provide meal prep, light housekeeping, assistance running errands, medication reminders, or medication management services. There's kind of a few things I think that separate us from our competition because there are a number of home care companies out there. One of them, I think, is our training. I meet personally with all of our caregivers one-on-one. My kind of background, I was an RN in the hospital setting for about 15 years. So I am able to provide training with not only things like how to safely transfer someone or how to give a bath, but we also cover details on how to care for specific diagnosis, like dementia is a huge one, diabetes, Parkinson's. We talk about things like what to do if your client has a seizure or develops a fever. So I really try to prepare them when they go out to those clients so they have a good idea of how to handle certain situations. And the other way I think we differ is financially. We don't charge the client anything until the caregiver is actually out at their home providing services. So there's no charge for the initial intake visit. So even if you aren't quite ready yet, you just want to learn more, I can come out to your home. We can do a nursing assessment. We can talk about other local resources that might benefit you or help you deal with some of the challenges you're facing. And we can go over our services and what you might need in the future. And that way, when the time does come, it's really just a matter of a phone call to let us know, hey, you're ready to proceed with services. So there's no charge at all for that initial visit. We also don't require any kind of startup fee or a down payment, which a lot of other companies do. And we don't lock our clients into a contract. So if you start services with us and then you decide you don't need us anymore, then all we require is 24 hours notice to cancel services. And there's no penalty, no cost to you. So you're just paying for the time that the caregiver is out there. Another way I think we differentiate ourselves is that we offer a lot of payer sources because we really do try to curb the cost for our clients as much as possible. Like most home care companies, we do offer private pay, of course, and we work with long-term care insurance. But we're also VA approved. So if you're a veteran, there are a few programs with the VA that can help you qualify for care free of charge. We also work with Medicaid under Florida Community Cares program. And we work with Medicare for some respite through both the Helper Bees program for Medicare Advantage and the Guide program for those with straight Medicare, traditional Medicare, and a dementia diagnosis. So there's a lot of programs out there that can help at least get you some respite hours, give you a little bit of a break, and help curb the cost a little bit.
Very interesting. I'm glad you mentioned the Guide program because we have done an interview with the doctor who's involved with that down in Naples, and we've been talking about that forever, and it's a really good program that a lot of people don't know about. That's why we promote it so much.
Yeah, if you qualify for that through your traditional Medicare, then you can get up to like 25. It works out to about $2,500 worth of care. So, it's not a long-term solution, but at least gives you some respite so that you can, like I said, focus on yourself a little bit. And then, of course, if you need additional hours, you can always pay out of pocket for those.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us? Any last thoughts that you might have?
Well, I would just say you're already taking some of the most important steps by listening to the podcast. Keep researching, know your resources, know your options, and it's going to make life a lot easier as your loved one progresses and needs additional care. Don't wait for that crisis. Make sure you have a plan. I'd also like to invite everyone to check out our Facebook page. It's called Assisting Senior Citizens Lee County. We have designed that page to be a place that seniors can go to find resources and ask questions. So we do a lot of educational posts, and dementia is a very common topic for discussion. And we also post a lot of local educational opportunities for you to learn more. So I encourage everyone to check that out as well.
And how would they get a hold of you if they wanted to reach out and your company?
Absolutely. So we are Assisting Hands Home Care, and our phone number is probably the best way to reach us is 239-337-4263. You can always give me an email as well if you prefer. That is M for Morgan. My last name Van Dyke, VANCYKE at assistinghands.com.
Very good. Thank you so much for your time and valuable information. You've shared a lot with us very quickly, and it's great. We appreciate your time very much.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
We'll be right back to GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
If you have a loved one who suffers from Alzheimer's or any other type of dementia, you probably worry about where to find and get help. You're not alone. Do you know about the guide? The program supports individuals with dementia and their caregivers through comprehensive no-cost assistance from the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Innovation. There is no cost. It's free for participants with no changes to current care. There are flexible respite options with care for your loved one at home, in a facility, or a day program. There's seamless care coordination with expert assistance in navigating community resources and accessing medical care. There is broad eligibility with all people with dementia who are covered by traditional Medicare eligible. There is a trained professional to help coordinate and ease your care responsibilities. The Guide program is here to help lighten the burden of dementia care, providing essential support and practical solutions for families navigating the challenging journey. Luckily, there is a navigator here in Southwest Florida, Dr. Adam Perry and HealthSpan Partners of Southwest Florida. Get in touch. Schedule a conversation. 863-356-1979. That's 836-356-1979. Or visit Dr. Perry's website. That's healthspanswfl.com. That's healthspanswfl.com.
This is GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
We brought up a great and very anticipated event that'll be happening later this year. It's the Walk to End Alzheimer's 2025. Teams are being formed in your towns and cities right now. I'm still trying to get a complete list of where and when they will take place. I looked it up. There are 626 locations around the country. Now, the easiest way to find out about your town, go to the Alzheimer's Association website, alz.org. In the search box on top, type in Walk to End, and then scroll down. Put in your zip code, and you'll be directed to more information. We'll be talking about this a lot as the year progresses. Why? Well, this year, 2025, GutPunched, Alzheimer's, and Caregivers will have our own team. And we are looking for friends and listeners to join the team to help raise some money and, of course, walk if possible. Our goal will be to raise as much money as we can. In Lee County, Florida, where I reside, our walk will be on November 8th. That means we have 8 long months to raise some money. The walk in Naples, Florida, which is right down the road here, will be on November 22nd. We will keep you posted in the next month on how and where you can give. We'll be posting on social media soon. We're going to try and get this on our website as soon as we possibly can. I still have to figure all that stuff out, though. Our website is gutpunched.com. We'd like as many people as possible to join our team, and we'll have information soon, promise. Help us help others in the fight against Alzheimer's. Thank you very much. Next time, we'll be talking with former governor of Wisconsin, Martin J. Schreiber, who cared for his beloved wife, Elaine, for nearly 20 years after her Alzheimer's diagnosis until she passed away in 2022. In his book, My Two Elaines, Learning, Coping, and Surviving as an Alzheimer's Caregiver, Schreiber shares his heartbreaking experience watching his wife, Elaine, transform into a person who no longer recognized her husband and children. Part love story, part practical advice. This is going to be a very interesting conversation and full of practical advice for caregivers. You know, if you know somebody who might be a good guest or someone who has a unique story to tell of their journey, have them contact us. We'd love to talk with them. For more information, you can check out the Alzheimer's Support Network at https://alzsupport.org/about-us. To find your local chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, you can visit alz.org/local resources/find your local chapter. Or you can call their toll-free hotline at 1-800-272-3900. The Dubin Center is dubincenter.com. Dr. Perry's HealthSpan Partners website is https://healthspansouthwestflorida.com. And for more information on the guide, and as we say, it's probably easier to just Google it, Edge it, or DuckDuckGo it. Check it out. It's worth it. If there's a topic you would like to hear more about, let us know. The website is gutpunched.com and the email address is gutpunchedac@outlook.com. Help us grow and share this podcast with others who may need the information and resources. There is help and hope out there for them. Thanks for joining us, and please come back again. God bless.
This has been Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, with your host, Jeff Edwards. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to us on all the platforms like Spotify, Apple, Pandora, and more. If you have a question or want to get in touch, our email is gutpunchedac@outlook.com.